The man in the black suit slammed the gallery doors open and shouted my name like it was a verdict. Spotlights washed the room in warm gold, turning marble floors into a river of light. My hands were still lifted toward my newest sculpture, my voice still mid-sentence, my smile still stuck on my face for the guests who came to bless my wedding. Then the stranger walked in. He was tall, hard-shouldered, dressed like he belonged to a world where you do not ask questions. A thin scar cut beside his right eye, pale under the lights. In one hand he carried a folder. In the other a silver pendant that swung once, then stilled, as if it recognized me before I recognized it. Marcus squeezed my waist. "Ignore him," he whispered. "He is jealous." I swallowed and faced my guests. The gallery sat near Grand Central, a clean white space I rented for my bridal exhibition. The invitations said Guardians, an ode to the man I believed saved me 10 years ago. The man beside me, my fiancé, wore his burned scar like a medal and accepted every blessing like he earned it. I pointed to the centerpiece on the pedestal. "This is called redemption," I said. "It is about the moment a life is pulled back from the edge." Redemption was a sculpted blur, a shoulder, a side profile, a wrist with a faint ridge where a scar might be. The face was unfinished. Memory never gave it to me. The man in black stopped at the edge of the crowd. His voice cut through the murmurs. "Marcus White. Say it again, tell them you saved her." Gasps rippled. Cameras rose. Marcus lifted his arm. The old burned scar flashed. "I do not know who you are," he said, calm and steady. "But you should leave." I stepped forward, a wall between them. "Sir," I said, keeping my tone polite. "This is a private event." The man met my eyes without blinking. His gaze was the color of storm water, deep, cold, and tired. "Ella Carter," he said. "You are going to look at what you have done." He held up the folder. Emergency intake records, blood donation paperwork, a statement signed by Dr. Martha Grant on the night of the shooting, and the pendant you dropped while you were bleeding on the floor. My fingers twitched. The pendant. A small silver crescent with a tiny star. I had searched for it for months after the campus attack, until the search became another kind of grief. Marcus laughed too quickly. "This is insane." The man opened the folder and held up a page. "Look at the donor line," he said. "The blood type. The signature." I leaned toward the paper. My mind did that sometimes, when old fear scraped at the edges. But the name printed on the line was clear. Keller Thorne. He stepped closer and tapped the line. "The donor matches me. Your chart lists the transfusion. Your chart lists the shrapnel that tore my skin here." He pointed to the scar near his right eye. My breath caught. "Keller," I whispered, as if saying it softly could make it less real. Marcus spoke over me. "Blood can be forged. Papers can be forged." I carried her out. Keller did not look at Marcus. He looked only at me. "You remember a wrist scar," he said. "You built 10 years on a wrist scar." His voice dropped, and somehow it was louder. "Ella, 10 years. You worked in a building I designed. You walked beneath my lines and called them beautiful, and you could not even recognize my eyes." The room went silent. Marcus's hand tightened on my waist, not protective now, but warning. I pulled away, shaking. Keller moved closer and caught Marcus's wrist, twisting just enough to make Marcus hiss. The burned scar flashed again. "This is an accident," Keller said. "You got this from a pan and a bad temper. My scar came from blood and bullets." Marcus yanked free, face red. I reached for the folder with trembling hands. I saw my name, a date 10 years ago, Dr. Grant's signature, and a note about my pendant being recovered and tagged. My vision blurred. A memory hit like broken glass. Sirens. The taste of metal. A warm hand gripping mine. A voice, strained and urgent. "Stay with me, Ella. Look at me." Tears spilled before I knew they were coming. Keller held the pendant out again. "I promised myself I would return it when you could look at me and know who I was." Marcus grabbed the pendant and flung it onto the pedestal beside redemption. It clinked and spun, bright and helpless. Something inside me broke open. Lena Cole stepped forward from the back, her expression sharp and sick with fury. "Tell her," she said to Marcus. Tell her why your story always changed. Keller stared at me like I was the last answer he would ever get. Pick a side, he said. The man who fed on your gratitude, or the man who bled for you. My wedding dress hung in a garment bag at home. My invitations were stacked in my studio. 10 years of devotion sat between my ribs like a stone. I looked at Marcus. I looked at Keller. I looked at the faceless guardian I had sculpted. And my world tipped toward a truth I was not ready to carry. I locked myself in my studio that night and turned off every light except the one over my desk. Outside the windows, New York kept moving. Horns. A distant laugh. A train rumbling underground. Life that did not care that my world had split in half. My journal sat in a neat stack, 10 years thick. I had written to keep the past from swallowing me. I had written to honor my rescuer. Now the pages felt like evidence. The first entry after the shooting was shaky, angry, terrified. I remember arms around me. I remember a wrist scar. I remember eyes bright, like stars. I do not remember the face. Eyes like stars. My fingers tightened on the paper until the corner crumpled. I tried to breathe, but my lungs felt too small. The ring on my finger suddenly felt heavy, like it was made of guilt. The dress. The cake tasting. The guest list. Every choice I made in the last year now looked like a betrayal I never meant to commit. A knock hit the door. Ella. Lena called softly. Open up, please. When I let her in, she took one look at the journals and my swollen eyes. You look like you got hit by a decade, she said. I feel like I did. I whispered. She sat across from me, steady as stone. Do you believe him? I do not know what I believe, I said. I only know what I remember. I remember the heat of a body over mine. I remember a scar. I remember waking up and seeing Marcus. I remember thinking, I am safe because he is here. Lena leaned forward. Trauma gives you fragments. Marcus gave you a story that fit those fragments. I flipped through later entries until my stomach turned. Paris. A scholarship letter I declined when my professors said I could study abroad for a year. Love means sacrifice. I had written, proud of myself. If Marcus cannot handle me being away, I will stay. I owe him. Lena's mouth tightened. You did not owe him your future. I kept turning pages, faster now, like I could outrun the shame. There were entries about Marcus being tired, Marcus being anxious, Marcus needing me to call in sick to cover his shift, Marcus needing me to cancel dinners with friends because he did not feel well. Each request was small, each sacrifice framed as love, until 10 years had passed and my world had narrowed without me noticing. A photograph slipped out between pages. Marcus and me at a rooftop party, his arm around my shoulder, his smile soft. I stared at it and tried to locate the moment my gratitude turned into devotion. I really did love him, I said, and my voice shook. You loved what you believed he did for you, Lena corrected. And you loved the person you became when you were trying to be worthy of that debt. I looked back down at my journals and saw it, a new pattern I never wanted to admit. Anonymous grants to my department. Insured supplies delivered to my office with no return address. Architectural magazines with typed notes. Stone can hold tenderness. One note said, try a rough surface with a clean edge. Let it feel like safety that costs something. No name. No signature. I thought Marcus sent these. I whispered. Lena did not look surprised. He accepted your thanks every time. My hands went cold. I remembered bringing Marcus the magazines, excited, telling him how thoughtful he was. I remembered his smile, his easy yes, the way he never asked what the notes meant, only asked what I planned to do for him next. I closed the journal and pressed my palms to my eyes. And the pendant? I whispered. I lost it that night. Marcus told me he never saw it. Lena's voice hardened. I asked him about it more than once. He always got angry, or he got sad, or he said you were fragile and I should stop pushing. I swallowed. I let him. You were surviving, Lena said. That is not the same as choosing. A buzzing cut through the quiet. Unknown number. I stared at it until it buzzed again, like the phone had decided I could not hide from this either. I answered, and Keller's voice came low and strained. Do not go to sleep thinking this will disappear. He said. It will not. My skin prickled. How did you get my number? I have had it for years. He said. The words hit like a hand around my throat. I did not come to ruin you. Keller continued. I came to stop him from stealing the rest of your life. Why now? I asked, and I hated how small my voice sounded. Because you were about to marry him. Keller said. Because you were about to carve my blood into a wedding cake and call it love. I flinched. I did not know. I know. He said, and the words sounded like pain. That is the worst part. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, then at my journals. For 10 years I sculpted a faceless guardian because my mind could not give me the face. Now a scarred ride I haunted me under gallery lights. I need to see Dr. Martha Grant. I said. Lena exhaled like she had been waiting for that. I already found her address. She said. And Ella, I am not saying this to hurt you, but if Keller is telling the truth, he has been alone with it for a long time. It took me a moment to speak. So have I said. Just in a different way. Keller Thorne's studio sat on the top floor of a glass tower in Midtown, all clean lines and sharp corners, like he built walls to keep the world out. The reception area smelled like cedar and printer ink. A receptionist glanced at me, recognition flickering, then made a call without my request. He said to send you in. She murmured. My legs felt heavy as I walked down the hall. Architectural models set behind glass, perfect miniature cities. In each one I could feel the same hand, the same mind, the same strict devotion to structure. It made me think of my own sculptures, how I pretended control could stop pain from returning. I knocked once. Enter. A voice called. Keller stood by the windows with the skyline behind him. He did not turn at first. You came. He said. I had to. I replied. Tell me what happened. Tell me what I forgot. He faced me, storm water ice cold. Do you want the story? He asked. Or do you want forgiveness? Both. I said. You do not get both on demand. He replied. You do not get to knock on my door like the last decade was a misunderstanding you can apologize away. I took a breath. I am sorry. I lost pieces of my memory. I held on to what I could. You held on to a scar. He said, and the words were sharp. Then he caught himself, anger tightening his shoulders. No, you held on to what trauma let you keep. But you never questioned it. I was afraid. I admitted. If Marcus was not my rescuer, I did not know who I was supposed to thank. I did not know what my gratitude meant. I did not know who I was without it. Keller walked to a table and picked up my pendant. It glinted between his fingers. You thanked the wrong man for a decade. He said. And I watched you do it. Why did you watch? I asked. Why did you not tell me earlier? He stared past me for a moment, like the answer was a locked room. Because my name was not safe then. He said. I was a witness in a case that would have gotten me killed if I showed up at your hospital bed and signed my name. The word tasted strange. Witness protection. I whispered. Keller did not correct me. He only set the pendant down gently, like it was fragile. I came back when I could. He said. I came back and you were already calling him your hero. I told myself it would pass, that you would question it, that you would see. I swallowed. You could have walked away. I tried. He said, and his laugh was bitter. Then I saw your first exhibition. You were holding a piece of plaster like it was a heart. You were smiling at strangers like you were daring yourself to live. And I thought, if I walk away, that night will have meant nothing. He pulled a cardboard box from a cabinet and pushed it toward me. Open it. Inside were clippings of my exhibitions, typed notes, and receipts for anonymous donations. I lifted one note and recognized the phrasing. Clean. Precise. Like architecture written in sentences. My eyes burned. This is you. It is pathetic. Keller said, voice flat. 10 years of watching from the edge of your life. I found a receipt for a grant that paid for a kill in my department. I remembered the day it arrived, my surprise, my excitement. I remembered running to Marcus with the news. I remembered thanking him for his support. I thanked Marcus for these. I whispered. I know. Keller said, and the calmness in his voice was worse than anger. I reached out, slow fingers hovering near the scar beside his right eye. Let me see it. I need to connect the memory to the reality. He stepped back as if my hand was fire. Do not touch me, he said. Do not turn me into your lesson. I did not bleed so you could learn a moral. His voice sharpened. You loved an idea, a rescuer, a story that made your pain make sense. That is not true, I said, shaking. I do not know what I felt anymore. I do not know what was real. Keller's eyes held mine, cold and bright. Then prove it, he said. Break his lies yourself. Then come back and tell me you still want me, not because I saved you, because you chose me. I nodded because it was the only thing I could do without collapsing. As I turned to leave, he spoke again, softer, like it cost him. I hate you for not recognizing me, he said. And I hate myself for still wanting you to. My chest cracked open. I walked out before he could see how much that sentence hurt. Dr. Martha Grant lived in a narrow brownstone in Queens. The porch creaked when we stepped on it, like the house remembered every secret it held. When she opened the door, her eyes sharpened behind her glasses. Ella Carter, she said. I remember you. My heart lurched. You do. You have the same scared eyes, she said, then sighed as if she had been carrying my name for years. Come in, sit. I kept what I could. She led us into a living room that smelled like tea and old paper. A heavy folder landed on the table like a gavel. I treated you the night of the shooting, Dr. Grant said. And I treated Keller Thorne. She opened the folder and slid pages toward me like she was feeding me something I had avoided swallowing. My name. My chart. Notes about blood loss and shock. Then Keller's file. Gunshot graze, shoulder. Shrapnel near the right eye. Blood donation listed. He gave you blood, Dr. Grant said. You were close, very close. Tears stung my eyes. Why did I not know? Because when you woke up, Marcus White was already there, she said. He told staff he was your rescuer. He cried. He held your hand. He brought flowers. He made the nurses feel sorry for him. And every time I tried to speak, he interrupted. Lena's face went pale with rage. He said she was fragile. She muttered. Dr. Grant nodded. He said details would trigger you. He said he would handle it. I regret that I let him. But there were other pressures that night. What pressures? I asked. Dr. Grant's mouth tightened. Men with badges, she said. They did not wear uniforms. They did not want attention. They took Keller. They told me his name was not safe. They told me if I spoke, I could put you in danger. The word formed in my mouth anyway. Witness protection. Dr. Grant did not correct me. She only looked tired. He did not abandon you, she said quietly. He was removed. I pressed my palm to my mouth. The thought of Keller being taken away while Marcus stepped into his place made something hot rise in my throat. Dr. Grant pulled another page. Marcus had a burn scar, yes, I saw it. I also saw his chart. Minor abrasion, smoke. He did not carry you out. He did not hold pressure on your wound. He did not donate blood. My breath shook. So he took the credit. He took more than credit, Dr. Grant said. He took your healing, because he tied it to himself. She reached into the folder and pulled out an evidence bag with a silver crescent and star pendant, tagged and sealed. I kept it, she said. I broke protocol. I knew someone was lying. Sometimes proof is all you can do when people with power tell you to stay quiet. My throat tightened. Marcus told me he never saw it. Dr. Grant's eyes hardened. Of course he did. Lena leaned forward. Doctor, did you ever see Keller's face that night? Anything that could help her remember? Dr. Grant hesitated, then opened a drawer in a side table and pulled out a small printed photograph, the kind that comes from a security camera still. It was grainy, but unmistakable. A man leaning over a stretcher, his hair damp with sweat, his shoulder stained dark, one hand gripping mine. I stared until my vision blurred. That is him, I whispered. I feel it. Dr. Grant nodded. Sometimes memory lives in the body, not in the mind. We left her home with the folder like a weapon and the photo like a wound. In the car, my phone buzzed. Marcus. His voice came sweet and practiced. Ella, where are you? That man is lying. You know he is lying. I know you were lying. I said. Silence, then coldness. Come home. We will talk this through. Home. I repeated. You mean my apartment? His breath went sharp. Do not do this. If I walk away, you will regret it. He said, and the threat slid under my skin. My hands went numb around the phone. For 10 years his voice had been my comfort. Now it sounded like a lock clicking shut. I hung up without answering and stared straight ahead. For 10 years I built my love on gratitude. Now I was going to burn the lie down with the truth. Marcus waited in my studio like he owned it. He sat on my couch with my favorite mug in his hands, my ring box on the table between us like a dare. He looked up and softened his face into concern. There you are. He said. I was worried. The internet is tearing us apart. Come here. Lena shut the door behind us. The click sounded like a lock. I did not move closer. I dropped Dr. Grant's folder onto the table. Read it. I said. Marcus's gaze skittered over the pages. Fear flashed, then he scoffed. Paper, ink, anyone can print a name. Dr. Grant remembers you. I said. She remembers you interrupting her. She kept the pendant. She kept everything. Marcus set the mug down too hard. Coffee splashed, dark and ugly. You went digging. He said, and the sweetness in his voice evaporated. I went looking for my life. I replied. For my truth. For the face I never got to remember. His jaw worked. So now you believe a stranger with a scar. Keller is not a stranger. I said, and the sentence surprised me with its certainty. He has been in the edges of my life for years. The grants, the notes, the building. I see it now. Marcus stood, slow. You are being manipulated. Lena stepped forward. By who? The man who gave blood or the man who stole credit? Marcus turned on her, eyes cold. Shut up. I flinched. 10 years and I had never heard that voice directed at her. I had never allowed myself to hear it at all. Marcus looked back at me. Ella, listen. You were broken. You needed someone. I was there after. I held you when you woke up screaming. I stayed when everyone else moved on. You stayed because it benefited you. Lena snapped. Marcus laughed, short and sharp. Everyone benefits from love. He said. That is the point. I took a breath and forced the question out. Were you there when I was shot? His expression barely changed. I was on campus. He said. Did you carry me out? I asked. He did not answer fast enough. I held his gaze. Did you donate blood? His mouth tightened. No. The room went silent, and in that silence I felt 10 years collapse. You want truth? Marcus said finally, and the mask fell away. Fine. I saw Keller save you. He admitted. I saw him bleed. I saw you look at him like he was a miracle. And I saw your pendant on the floor. I saw your hand reaching for it. My stomach clenched. And you still lied. Marcus shrugged, like it was a business choice. I had nothing. No money. No family name. No future that mattered. Then you looked at me in that hospital room and thanked me. You asked if I carried you out. In that moment, the world offered me a door. You stole it. I said. I took what you gave. He snapped. You wanted an anchor. I became it. You would have drowned without someone to hold on to. I could have learned to swim. I whispered. Marcus's eyes flashed. Not without me. You loved being needed. You loved being the one who could repay a debt. It made you feel safe. Lena's voice shook. You are disgusting. Marcus pointed at the ring on my finger. Take it off. He said. If you are going to pick him, at least be honest about it. My fingers trembled as I slid the ring off and set it on the table. It left a pale mark, a circle that looked like absence. It is over. I said. Marcus stared at the ring, then at me, and something in his eyes changed, something colder than anger. You think you can just walk away? He said softly. After everything you invested. It was my investment. I said. You were the fraud. Marcus leaned close, voice low. If you run to him, he will punish you. He will make you pay. You think you can survive his hate? I deserve his anger more than I deserve your lies. I said. And I remind you, Marcus, you are the one who should be afraid. I have proof now. His lips curled. Proof does not matter if people decide to doubt you. He said. You are a professor, Ella. You live on reputation. What happens when your students hear you threw away your fiancé for a rich architect with a scar? What happens when people decide you are unstable? My stomach dropped. The threat was dressed as a prediction, but it was still a threat. Lena stepped between us. Try it, she said. And I will make sure everyone hears exactly what you did. Marcus stared at her, then at me. A smile returned, slow and dark. You will regret this. He promised, and I believed he meant it. He walked out, and the studio felt like a battlefield after the enemy left. Lena exhaled a shaking breath. Are you okay? No, I said. But I am finally awake. 2 weeks later, Keller's company hit a crisis. The story started on architecture blogs, then exploded into business news. A flagship design leaked. A client threatened to sue. A competitor whispered that Keller Thorne stole concepts. I watched the headlines with a sick certainty. It felt too time to be coincidence. Lena found the thread. Marcus is connected to a contractor on that project, she said. He worked with them last year. Remember the one he called a friend, the one he always met in secret? My anger turned cold. He is striking back. I did not hesitate. I went to Keller's office with sleepless eyes and a folder full of marked prints. This time the receptionist did not stop me. The atmosphere was tense. People moved fast, eyes down, voices tight. Keller's name hung in the air like smoke. I walked into his studio without waiting to be announced. Keller stood over blueprints, shoulders rigid. He looked up as I entered. Surprise softened his face for a breath, then the ice returned. You should not be here, he said. I know. I replied. I am here anyway. I spread the leaked design and Keller's past work side by side. This leak is not your work, I said. It copies your surface, not your logic. You never place load-bearing columns like this. Whoever did this, they do not understand how you think. Keller stared at the pages. You studied my work, he said, almost accusing. I had 10 years to stand under it. I replied. I just did not know it was yours. His jaw tightened, but he did not look away. I pointed to a curve and a column detail. The person who leaked this over tightened the arcs. That is a signature. I found the same habit in a portfolio tied to the contractor. The timing overlaps with Marcus. Keller's eyes narrowed. You did all this research. I did not sleep, I admitted. Not with the thought of Marcus sabotaging you to punish me. Not after everything he stole. I slid forward an email chain Lena helped me obtain from someone who owed her a favor. Payment transfers. A promise of access. Marcus's name hiding under a personal address. There was also a short message I could not forget. Make it look like his own arrogance. It read. She will come crawling back. Keller read, face darkening. This is enough to crush him. It is enough to clear you, I said. And to show the world he lied about more than a scar. His gaze lifted to mine. Why? He asked. The question was not about the evidence. It was about me. Because you deserve protection, I said. Because I do not want you to bleed alone again. Because I am tired of being controlled by the man who stole my gratitude and called it love. Keller's voice went quiet. You did not protect me for 10 years. I know. I whispered. I protected the wrong man. I do not know how to forgive myself for that. Silence stretched, heavy and alive. Keller stepped closer until the scar beside his right eye was all I could focus on. I wanted you to suffer, he admitted. I wanted you to come to me on your knees and beg. I will beg if I have to, I said, and my voice did not break. Not because you saved me, because I broke you, because I want to mend what I can. He swallowed hard. Say you want me, he said. I want you, I said, trembling. Not a rescuer role, not a story, you, Keller. His composure slipped. He reached for my wrist, firm, like he needed proof I was real. "Where is your ring?" he asked. I opened my palm. "No ring. Only a pale line. It is gone," I said. "So is the wedding." Keller's breath shuddered. He picked up my pendant from the table and held it out. "I kept it for 10 years. He said. "It was my proof that you were real. That night was not a hallucination I invented to survive." My hand shook as I took it. The metal was cool, then warmed against my skin. "I am sorry," I whispered. "I did not see you." "Look at me," Keller said. I lifted my gaze. His eyes held mine, storm water and light. "I recognize you," I said. "I recognize you even when it hurts. I recognize the man who held my hand in the dark. I recognize the man who wrote notes about stone and tenderness. I recognize the man who stayed close without taking credit." For a long moment he said nothing. Then he pulled me into his arms, tight and desperate, like he was holding on during a storm. "You are late," he murmured into my hair. "I know," I whispered back. "But I am here." He loosened his grip and held my face, searching. 10 years," he said. "Tell me why I should believe you will not choose a lie again." "Because I have no patience left for worship," I said. "I want love that is real even when it is ugly. I want love that does not require me to owe anyone my future." Keller's mouth trembled, the smallest sign of vulnerability. He fastened the pendant around my neck with careful hands. The clasp clicked, soft and final. "I should have told you sooner," he said, and the confession sounded like it burned. "When I came back, I thought if I pushed you, I would only reopen your trauma. Then I saw you smiling with him, and I hated you for it. I hated him more. I told myself you made your choice and I would endure it. And you endured it anyway," I whispered. His eyes darkened. "I endured it because I was still yours," he said. "Even when I did not have the right to be." I swallowed. "I do not want a right," I said. "I want a chance." Keller held my gaze. Slowly, like he was choosing pain and hope at the same time, he nodded. "Then we start again," he said. "Not as rescuer and victim, not as gratitude and debt, as two people who decide to heal anyway." I should have been relieved. Instead I felt the weight of what came next. The work. The apologies. The slow rebuilding. Keller stepped back and rubbed his face, as if he needed a second to be human. "There is one more thing," he said. "What?" I asked. He looked at me and the ice was gone for a moment. "When the shooting happened, you tried to stand and you pulled me close," he said. "You were shaking, but you looked right at me. You said my eyes looked like stars. You said you would never forget." My throat tightened. "I wrote it in my diary," I whispered. "I kept it, even when I lost everything else." Keller's breath caught. He nodded once, like that was the only way he could accept softness without breaking. Outside the windows, the city lights flickered like distant stars. This time, I did not look away.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.